Go now to our legal panel. Matt Murphy is a former homicide prosecutor, and former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani joins me. Neama, what a difference a new DA makes. There was talk that the Menendez brothers, from Mark Garagos, he was saying they'll be out by Thanksgiving. The ball has moved down the field quite a bit. It now won't be until late January. What impact do you think Nathan Hochman, the new incoming DA, will have?
Elizabeth, he can have a huge impact. And you touched upon it. What a difference an election makes. Obviously, Jack Smith dismissing Donald Trump's indictments today, or starting that process. And Nathan Hochman, I know Nathan, I used to work with him at the LA City Ethics Commission, but he's a very different prosecutor than George Gascon was. He may decide to pull the plug on this resentencing request entirely. Now, Mark Garagos, of course, has come on NewsNation. I've been on panels with him, and he says that, well, it's too late for that. But I think the law's unclear whether a new district attorney can really rescind or has to honor that resentencing recommendation. So it's going to make a big difference. If he shows up in late January, or if he files paperwork in the middle of January opposing this resentencing request, what is the judge in the case, Judge Michael Jessup, what is he going to do? I think he's going to have a conundrum on his hands.
Matt, what do you think?
I totally agree. You know, the judge did the right thing today in both putting the case over so Nathan Hochman could properly consider it, and also allowing the two family members to speak. And I got to say, Elizabeth, this is one of the things I like about NewsNation. You got in Milton's point of view, and almost nobody is talking about that.
Yeah.
The family, quote unquote, has been referred to consistently as a block, as if they're united, and they're not. Milton is adamantly opposed to this. He believes the public is being manipulated. He's been very articulate, in my view, about that. And there's a provision that also nobody's talking about. It's Article 1, Section 28 of the California Constitution that allows for what is known as finality in sentencing. And so George Gascon arguably violated Milton's rights by submitting this. So this is a very complex issue, but this is in no way a slam dunk for Mark Garagos, who I've known for years and really like.
Yeah.
But he's an advocate here. He's got clients. He's doing his job. But look, this is extremely controversial in the city of Los Angeles. It should also be noted that Gascon, he lost this election, Elizabeth, by the largest margin, I think, in the history of Los Angeles local politics. He was deeply unpopular. He was a radical, far-left, progressive DA. And his nickname among law enforcement circles was Captain Freedom, because this guy believes every murder essentially should get out. And that is something that, you know, he's been sued multiple times by his own prosecutors. They believe overwhelmingly that the Menendez brothers should not be released. And I knew David Cohn pretty well. He was the prosecutor that actually convicted them. He was a fair, smart, no-nonsense guy, and he passed away a few years ago. It's a real shame that he is not alive today to engage in this debate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had the attorney for Milton, the brother, on this show a couple of times. George Gascon did not alert them when he announced he was going to petition to have them resentenced and released. They were caught off guard and felt very cut out of communications on that whole thing. Listen, Neama, it's, you know, Hochman says that he'll wipe out a lot of George Gascon's policies when he takes office next week. He was on this show right after his election, and take a listen to what he said about this very case.
But you got to do the hard work. You got to review the thousands of pages of confidential prison files that I don't have access to at this point. You should review the thousands of pages of trial transcript from 2 months-long trials. You should talk to the prosecutors, law enforcement officers, defense counsel, victim family members, review the voluminous exhibits, and only then can you have been said to have done a thorough review of the facts and the law and weigh in on the case.
So, Neama, we know that the Beverly Hills Police Department, which investigated these double murders, were never contacted by Gascon. I just pointed out that Milton, the brother who is against releasing the brothers, was not alerted by Gascon. Hochman appears to be, he told me, I'm going to do this very differently than the way George Gascon did.
Well, he will. And we know that George Gascon sat on this case for a year and a half. That's when the habeas petition was filed. And, a few weeks before his election, because releasing the Menendez brothers is somewhat popular here, even though it's very polarizing. Gascon wanted to take advantage of that. And it's rare to have a district attorney hold a press conference like he did, but it made for good politics. Hochman, of course, is going to be very deliberate, and he should be. This is a very important case, and not just important, it may shape his tenure as district attorney. This is a huge decision. And folks that are watching, people have very strong opinions on both sides, including the family members, like you said. And Matt said, under Marcy's law here in California, they have a right to be informed. And we've seen it in cases where Adnan Syed in Maryland, where the victim's family weren't informed, and we have to start that whole process over. So it's going to be very interesting to see what position Hochman takes in the next couple of months, because I think it's going to be really the determining factor whether Jessup decides to release the brothers or at least make them eligible for parole or not.